my dear friends. Lockin Down the Truth with Marci Lock from India. Wanted to show you a little bit about the gorgeous, beautiful place that I'm staying, my last little spread of time here in India. And I wanted to share with you and talk to you about why, first off, why experience changes you. And one of the coolest things I saw when I first arrived to this little space, as I was checking in, or we were checking in the first evening, there was a older woman, really older, beautiful silver hair and little braids, and she came in to register and she was using a cane. She was barely, I don't know what country she was from. She could have been, American, but she came in and she was using a cane, and she sat down and she started talking to us and was registering. She was coming also to the Oneness Temple that is where we've been at for the last couple days. And so, I was just like, how fucking cool is that? How badass is that this extremely elderly woman traveling by herself is off still seeking adventure and enlightenment and just growth and expansion. And I'm seeing where I want to go here. I want to walk through the grass a little bit. And then the first day, we get on the bus to get shipped off to the temple, where we get to be all day long from early till late, just in these back-to-back, light body activations and meditations. Really powerful, really just spiritually. I mean, I was like astral traveling and gone most of the time, I could tell you. And there's this other older woman on the bus, and she's just like, we had seen her, and yesterday on the bus we got to sit and talk to her, and she was saying how she took care of her husband till he was like, couldn't do anything, and has him, I think he's either in a home or he might have passed, but she was like, she's like, all my friends are sitting at home in their regular lives just wasting away. She's like, I still want to be of value to the world. Namaste. Hi. I still want to be of value to the world. She's like, I still want to she's like, I want to live till my last breath. I want to be experiencing life. Like, what good would it do for me to just sit at home and rot away instead of adding value to the world? And she had said how she'd downsized from her house and gotten a little tiny cottage apartment. And, here she'd come out. She was here for 2 weeks straight doing this every day, all day long, back-to-back meditations, doing some of the courses. She's like, now I'm thinking of maybe moving to Ecuador for a little while. She's like, I can get healthcare for $50. And she's like, and then maybe I'll go do the Senior Citizens Peace Corps. She's like, I didn't know that they had Peace Corps for the senior citizens. That she's like, at least I can go, wherever and help people. And this is why experience changes us, where so much of what our society has been built on is information. Okay, so there's 3 phases or 3 areas that focus on your evolution, right? There's 3 stages to evolution, or your ascension, right? And the first one, and the one that most people stay stuck in, is simply information. So they stay stuck in a place of like, I'm just gonna get information, and that's a great place to start. It's where I started too. I remember when I paid $19. My good friend Garrett Gunderson, we laugh about this because I got asked to be on his TV show and other things, and he didn't even know this, that I had actually been buying his CD. I got 1 CD a month for $19 that I would listen to every morning as I worked out, where he had interviewed like some person who was, sharing their truths and understanding, and I would listen to that, and I would like think of how to apply it in my life. And that was where I was at when I was a $2 an hour waitress with 2 kids to feed and survive, and $10 to my name, and was like, that's what I could do. I started with information. I started with whatever I could get my hands on to learn and grasp these new truths, and breaking down the paradigms and the things that I had. Oh, butterfly just came and was like hanging out right here in front of me. I attract the best. So information is a great place to start. And yet most people will stay with information. How many books have you read? How many tapes have you listened to? How many videos have you watched, etc.? A lot of people take information, but they don't take the next step to confirmation, which means you're actually implementing and applying the knowledge and the experience to be able to, even mini experiences, right, to be able to now have a confirmation of it. So it's like when you choose to implement your learnings, your teachings, even if it's, say, what I'm doing out here with like intense devotional work, intense stuff like with rituals and ceremonies and processes in the temples, and getting to sit with an avatar. Now, he said that mantras are the seed of creation, that mantras are what was given to us, and it's even goes to show, obviously, power of our words, that when when we speak this mantra, again, now if you want to work on abundance, you can speak a Lakshmi mantra. And he says, as you speak this mantra, you emulate the vibration of it. And as you continue to align to that and you speak that, you vibrate it, you evolve to being that vibration. Now, obviously we know, I teach a lot, that it's a lot more than just speaking the words, because then you're not in the behaviors and the paradigms and the belief systems or even the internal feeling center matching for you to have the vibrational match. That's why most people stay stuck, is they're just like, okay, I'll just speak something, but I'm not looking in the micro alignment of integrity in my life. Integrity is simply embodiment, okay? So, or embodiment is integrity, right? It's like, to every degree are you in embodying that integrity, that alignment of that vibration. And so, you know, even if I chose to practice that every day and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to get up and I'm going to take the time for me to go internal and do my meditation, and I'm going to do a mantra, that is an action. That is a behavior that you're implementing, which is changing your inner being. It's changing the vibration that you're living at in your alignment. That creates confirmation in your life, because what begins to shift is everything around you begins to shift, so that you're experiencing something different. And that's what gives you confirmation. All of a sudden you have, you know, as you maybe lean into, you know, intolerance for other people, which is one of our greatest shadows in our frequency of humanity. And then we find and understand why we're intolerant. Oh, what's inside us that where we did that, or what we're judging, or what our story is, or our belief, etc. That then we have understanding, and we might find understanding for why someone is doing something, or, you know, they were raised with, you know, sexual abuse, and hence maybe why that might be an experience for them, etc. So when we find these things, I'm going to venture, because people are, all the amazing beings around here are cleaning, and so I can hear vacuums. I don't know if you can hear it. Anyways, so as we then find understanding, what comes next? We find forgiveness. So again, now as we evolve through practice and through these behaviors and these experiences, etc., then we get to the place where we're vibrating something different. Namaste. And so as we're vibrating something different and we're experiencing something different, we have a new confirmation of it. We have an experience of it. Okay, so again, now these are many ways and little ways that experience can completely change you. Because again, if you just have the information but you don't do anything with it, then nothing shifts. But still, at that second level of experience or confirmation in your life, there's another level or aspect that we can align to, which you know, maybe these are little ways that we have confirmation of certain things. This is why, for me, and what I love to share with people is, like, even having this time here, these experiences have changed me. And I have traveled all over the world. I geek out on this stuff. There's a reason why I have a whole company called Ascension Adventures, where now we have systems set up for people to get to go to the places and the different experiences that I've found, and be taken care of and led and guided through things such as like ayahuasca down in the jungles in Colombia. I have a whole system down there, you know, going to Damanhur, Italy. That's where my frequency key came from, to do the esoteric healing and be in the sacred temples and, you know, walking the spirals and opening up pathways in our brain, DNA activation, cellular memory, from going down into the Mayan temples in Tulum, and also now India. We're setting up obviously a system to share our beautiful experience here in India, with opening up so many other pathways in spiritual enlightenment. So all of these things, these experiences, are what change us. Because, and what I attribute, and all I'm sharing this with you so that you can look at, how do I give myself permission to live and to have experience? Because to look at this beautiful, amazing, you know, two examples here at this one place, we had two examples of older women by themselves. Now, I thought of my mom, and I was like, my mom, I think, has been on one plane once. And it was when I paid for my entire family to get to come down to California so that we could take my niece and nephew and family all to Legoland, etc. And it took a lot of convincing and reassuring, etc. And my mom traveling with my sister, etc., to be able to do that, because she grew up and was really afraid of the world. And that's what I learned. I was afraid of the world. The world was a scary place, right? So I remember at a time thinking that, you know, I could never travel by myself because I wouldn't know how to get around the airport. Now, as I've traveled all over the world and realized that was a silly thought. That's not true. I'm always safe. There's always people to ask. And I learned how to do that, and I've taught my boys how to do the same thing. It's allowed me to have an amazing adventure in life, right? And so as we look at we look at these stories or ideas or the things that keep us from experiences, and how when we have these experiences, what I attribute experience to, like giving yourself permission to be put out of your comfort zone into an environment. Because what's going to happen? The first thing that's going to happen as you get to lean in and choose in, the moment you choose in on these processes and these things. I mean, before I even came to India, first off, again, following the tiny inner guidance, and I'm actually going to do a live training in my Best Life tribe, if you're part of my community in there, that I'm going to go deep into all the insights from this trip, because that's my call, is to share these truths and allow you to even see, how can I take that truth and integrate it into my life and implement something different, even though you weren't necessarily here in India. And so I'll share more. Obviously, I'll dive deep into lots of these things so you guys can join me in that. Yet, looking at how, choosing in on these experiences, how every single time, like I went down to the jungles in Colombia, what happened within 5-6 days, because as we do like 5-6 ceremonies over a week's time. Again, I've been here for 2.5 weeks almost, but even in the 7 days that I was at the ashram, oh my gosh, the levels of things that came through, and what happened even before I started to come. I'll drop back a little bit. Even before I came, like first off, I had something that just showed up, like India just kept coming to my mind. I was like, India. And then, one morning I woke up and literally like had said to Dallas, I was like, wasn't there this thing on Sundays that you wanted to take me to that I had no idea what it was, and went to? Was a satsang by Brahman Carey, who is one of the spiritual teachers that brought us here to India. And that day she announces she's going to India, next trip to India. And it's like listening to that inner guidance of what's calling me to experience something, what's calling me to the next thing. I was like, oh, yep, I knew India was showing up and coming up. Thank you, there it is. It was that easy and simple when we listen, but most people don't listen. Okay, and in those experiences, like I was saying, when I'd go down to Colombia and do a week in the jungle, I equate that to doing like 20 years of inner work in what most people are doing with information and the tiny bits of daily patterns of confirmation. Okay, because what awakens and opens and shifts that we get reminded of, the hologram that breaks down, the pathways that are reignited, the DNA that's activated, the codes within us. What I mean is the dormant or sleeping understandings within us that have been shut off because the way we've been trained and conditioned and programmed and raised and forgotten who we really are. The true beings that we are, and how effortless we're meant to create and be in bliss and joy and happy. And from 1 week in the jungle, I literally came out and it was like doing 20 more years of inner work and processing, etc. And that's how, like, in one trip down to the jungle, I came out and was like, oh, like I literally had the download, millionaire consciousness was like, you get to coach people at $1 million level. I became the $1 million coach. The last time I was there, I got billionaire consciousness, which is creating Frequency Alliance and my other companies that are changing the game of humanity in our frequency. And all of this is because I put myself into an experience where I was way beyond the comfort zone and I could shift and change those things versus just taking in information, staying in my daily environment. So the week at the ashram, I literally get to do a big ass training wanting to share all these downloads and these insights and these truths and these things that get to apply. I'm just also noticing the butterflies that they keep coming around me. It's so beautiful. And so even that week, that was so life-changing. If that was the one experience I did, I would be forever changed. And yet I've aligned myself to seeking out these truths that have led me all over the world to find all these different ways of remembrance and activation. And so that for someone, it might not be plant medicine. It might be coming to a place like India and getting the alignment of the energetics and those kind of things that shift your alignment and your experience and open you up to a whole new world of possibilities of who you are. And I mean, so think about this, think about where you get to start. Where can you start to give yourself permission? Is there something that you're called to, but you back off because you go, oh no, I could never do that. Again, like stories, like, oh, I would, that's unsafe. You know how many times people tell me, oh, I couldn't go to Spain right now, it's unsafe. Oh, I couldn't go to Colombia, that's not safe. And I'm like, that's interesting, I go all the time. And it's like the safest place ever. The people are the most beautiful and generous and loving, and they will like invite you into their dirt floor and sacrifice their only chicken that they have for food to feed you. That's my experience. And yet we have these stories. And so it's like, what are you keeping yourself from? Even on a minute level, it might be, it's like I just had my goddess revolution, not goddess revolution, that's my other retreat. I had my goddess empire 1-day experience that came as a divine download that I got to do. And from that 1-day experience, I know all the women that had that 1 day where we dove deep into like a clearing and activating DNA. They all were like, came out of it and was like, for weeks, were like still like kind of like aligning to the frequency shifts and changes to the amount of capacity, having like their whole life shift to go, I can't even operate in the same life anymore because I see it for what it is and it's so massively different, and they've all up-leveled massively because they chose in on giving themselves an experience to awaken who they truly are, even if that looks like, you know, going to a mini event. And yes, I love all those things. I've never been a massive fan of just like sitting in a hotel room, or that's why I don't do a lot of seminars or things like that. I like to come speak at those things and share a little bit, but I love this kind of transformation. We're going, you know, into places where we're opening up the things that you didn't even know exist. But you can start somewhere, whether that be take the information that you're doing, turn it into implementing and integrating. This is why I so believe implementation is so important. Integration is so important. So many people are speaking truths, but people don't know how to actually align it into their lives. And there was like 2 ladies that I was with in India at the ashram, where they've done so much healing work. They're so dedicated to all these things, and yet, you know, I spent a lot of time kind of coaching and supporting in that they felt so stuck in their life because they didn't know how to implement and integrate. They didn't know how to process and move through things to have a different experience. They just depended on other people to heal them, or to, you know, go through a healing session or make them feel better, instead of aligning yourself to being whole and complete and knowing how to do that. And so it's really through doing these daily practices, you become the confirmation of them, you become the experience of them, you have a different experience, and then giving yourself permission to step into it in a bigger way. Experience is what changes you. I wholeheartedly believe that. That's why, again, you know, I dedicated a whole company to being a place where we just, from the money from that, we just turn around and feed it back into the projects. From feeding, you know, we feed kids in, I think it's Hungary. We've got projects of the funding the schools in Colombia and the lands down there in the village and the indigenous tribe down there. We've got projects of feeding the homeless in San Diego. We've got projects of now we're implementing with like buying cows for families in India. Like and you know, creating a way that anyone can be able to go do this. Anyone can do this and be able to step out of their comfort zone and align themselves to that divine remembrance. So I just wanted to share with you how powerful it was for me to even see these older women that traveling by themselves saying, hey, I'm here to live to the fullest. I'm here to live every day. I want to do some good in the world. I want to continue to grow and evolve and expand. And they're out in a whole other country, traipsing around, going to these meditation temples, doing these things to learn and grow and expand at the end of their life. Not to say, I need it because it's only, you know, for me to do this, to make money, to do this. They're just growing and expanding, evolving, knowing that their vibration changes the planet, and what their living breath here has something to do with serving other people. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I thought that was so freaking cool. Such an example and amazing portrayal of just choosing to continue to grow, expand, and experience more joy and happy. So you guys are worthy of that as well. So information, confirmation, experience to create the true transformation and evolution of your highest, greatest self and being. So I love you guys. Hope you enjoyed. I will hopefully be home soon. Seeing you soon. Power choice is yours. Choose your best life. Lock it down.